want you to hit me as hard as you can.
We'll tear your soul apart.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Now the dream is over. And the insect is away.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Talking Movies. My name's Josh.
My name's Chris.
I'm Clay.
And I'm Randall.
And today we're talking about Suburbia, the 1996 Richard Linklater movie. Just kidding.
Bro, dude, for a second I was like, huh?
I definitely watched the wrong movie. No, the 1983 by Penelope Spheres.
Penelope Spheres, yeah.
You shut up! You molested your own daughter, you scumbag!
Hasta luego, shitface.
A new movie about a new generation. Suburbia.
This movie is it's something, all right.
Yeah.
I hadn't seen it in a long while. There's a few things that I'd forgotten about watching this movie. But we're talking about like one of the early punk rock coming of age yet doing nothing. There's not a lot of substance to it. It's more or less a day in the life of these young punk rock kids in Suburbia. It's I don't know, it feels like when I watched it with Carissa, by the way, it was my pick. If anybody's curious, it was my pick. I mean, obviously, though, right? It'd be kind of weird if I wasn't the one that picked this one. But I watched it with Carissa, and it just felt it's the most accurate portrayal that I've seen, probably outside of her other movie, which is The Decline of Western Civilization, which is actually a portrayal of these people because it's the people that we're talking about. But like, you know, the her what's the word I'm looking for here, man? She has like credit. You know, she's got she was able to put a movie together that was just very realistic. For the most part, there's some stuff because it is fiction, but it's just a bunch of hoodlum kids growing up. One kid leaves his house and goes and joins this like squat house, and you just see these kids out living young, broke, stressed out, tired at like insane ages, like 15-year-old kids that are like having stresses that a 40-year-old should have, having concerns that an adult should have. And there's like a little kid in the house. It's crazy, man. They got like these dogs that guard their property essentially. It's a wild movie, man. It's funny that it's Suburbia because I think of that kind of stuff as like inner city life, but it really is kind of, you have Suburbia, suburban areas. It can't get like this, man. Those areas aren't always super nice just because they're on the outside of town with, I don't know what to call it, like cookie cutter homes.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, shit has people can live anywhere. Is my point.
And this was like in an abandoned area that was like going to be torn down.
Yeah.
So
I talked about it. Yeah, I talked about it at one time, like being the new, suburban, place to be, nice place,
right,
new houses, all that, and that it kind of declined.
Well, I think it reminded me of, I might be on the wrong side, but I think it's the west side of the Heights is very, very like that. It's real rundown, a lot of abandoned homes. Third Ward was like that for a long time. I know it's gotten gentrified, but this is a very, very, very familiar feeling to me. Just like any movie like this, it's going to have stuff that I can relate to very closely. But this one was incredibly familiar. Like, there was some stuff that I thought was kind of weird, but overall, this movie is a very accurate portrayal of what these kids are up to. Just fucking off, just out being hoodlums, going to shows, hanging out, drinking beer.
Yeah, I mean that like the
squat was pretty accurate.
Yeah, like the main. I don't know if he was the main. I don't know if anybody was really the main guy, but the blonde-headed kind of like buzz cut flat top kid.
He's
like,
kind of the main dude.
I
Yeah.
totally saw you every time he was on screen, pretty much.
He and I are very, very similar people. Well, the movie starts off with an insane scene. Hugh, have you seen this before?
I haven't. Which one was that? Was that Jack Diddley?
Jack,
was the
yeah.
main guy? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, I haven't seen it before.
I've seen it 20 times, and I couldn't tell you their names.
Oh yeah.
Joe Schmo, Jack Diddley.
Yeah, I mean they kind of painted in the beginning like it's going to be about the kid that like leaves home.
No, that was just like
yeah.
It was like definitely like a, what do you call that? Like almost like a red herring.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well,
yeah,
he's there.
He's a major part.
He's just the entry point into the world, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
this kid gets pissed and leaves his family because his parents are being turds, and he's just like, I don't like this. He's like just kind of wandering around, and he meets these people, and just kind of, it's almost exactly what happened with me, man. I left home at an early age. I just happened to already be into the music. And so when I ran across these people, I started I've lived in like 2 or 3 places like that, man. I lived in places that were at least that bad. Yeah. The place that Chris used to drop me off at was just like that, man. 20 people lived in there. There was no running water. We were like stealing electricity from our neighbor. Like it was crazy, man. So like we had a lot of this movie's rough, man. The very beginning of it's crazy because you see this girl who her name's Sheila, which I hate because that's my mom's name. So I just hate that her name is Sheila. Mm-hmm. But she's a very vital part to this story because she's the linchpin to a lot of stuff that happens in this movie. But you see her, and at first you're like, oh, it's this chick with like a little like long-haired bob, and you're like, oh man, what's this kid doing? And you figure out she's running away. And this lady picks her up, and the lady's like, let's call somebody. And they stop to call somebody, and it's like at this like random like payphone booth, but it looks like what's that show? That silly sci-fi show where the doctor shows up. Doctor Who.
Doctor Who.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This rando ass Bill and Ted Doctor Who freaking phone booth out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And you realize that she's out in this part of town where that house is at. Like later on, you realize where they were when that happened. Mm-hmm. But this lady got this little kid, and she sets this little kid down with this girl who she doesn't even know. And these like Doberman pinchers run out of nowhere and just annihilate this child.
Yeah.
And
the fakest doll I've ever seen.
But it's not even about that though. It's like the story is so crazy. Yeah. But yeah, no, it looked absolutely ridiculous. But and then all of a sudden, whenever that kid shows up at the punk house, you realize, oh, that's that girl that was sitting at the phone booth, and she just witnesses this kid get like murdered. They talk about it later about this dog got a kid, and you're like, they talk about it so nonchalantly. They're like, yeah, this dog got a kid the other day. You're like, that's a pretty big deal. But it shows you how like out of touch with reality these kids were, Right. That was like something that they're just like, yeah, it's kind of, or maybe how effed up their reality is. Maybe is the right word.
Just how kind of like desensitized to.
That's
they are. They're just okay. I mean, it's a thing that happened today or yesterday, like whatever.
Right.
Like when they start talking about so like okay. If you take a movie like SLC Punk or a movie like Return of the Living Dead and you compare it to a movie like Suburbia, this is so much more accurate. But there's still stuff about it that's ridiculous. Like that car, like, dude, in Houston, you would get pulled over and that car would not be in your possession. There is no way you could drive that car in Houston. It just wouldn't happen. I had cars that were considerably nicer than that get taken from me. So I had a pickup truck once that didn't have any brakes. We had to use the e-brake to drive around. So we basically just went like to the grocery store. Like, yeah, we drove like 10 miles an hour to the store. Like
e-braking everywhere.
Yeah. Because that was safe. We were like 20 years old. I don't think we realized like how much danger we were putting ourselves in doing that.
Yeah. I mean, you're super, like you're young already. So you're just completely oblivious to like
real life and dangers.
How things are and like I mean what you should be like just normal societal things like
and then you're that a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just gonna say and they're just double like don't give a shit because they're from broken homes or messed up homes.
Yeah, all those kids were in some effed up spots.
So they're just like exponentially it's just completely just different
Right.
mentality.
Right,
I was
right.
thinking about that. Like, as I've gotten older, now I feel like I'm entering old man phase, right? I'm like, I would not be able to tolerate these kids, right? And I used to be one of them. And now I'm like, these
I
freaking
still
kids
am.
they get on my nerves, man. I was like, why do they get on my nerves? And I think it's like you, as a young person, you have like the whole world ahead of you, and you're just pissing your life away, pretty much. And so,
Right.
I look back and I'm like, God, I wish I didn't waste so much time, like literally doing jack with my life. And if I could get those, that decade back or whatever, like, and you see these kids and you're like, you have no idea, like the value of your life that you're wasting. And I feel like that's sort of like what irks me about, but
I mean, you definitely can't. I mean, we all go through. Everybody goes through that. So, like,
yeah,
if you can't be like, oh, I wish I could get that decade back. That's crazy, man. If I was thinking like that, I'd be miserable, bro. I spent not only a decade and a half, but I spent, dude, probably enough money to buy a home on drugs.
This movie's
so
miserable.
I'm not gonna.
It's like,
I didn't. See, I didn't find it miserable. I am A-okay.
Depressing.
See, I don't. It depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
I don't think that the movie's that depressing. It doesn't remind me of a depressing time. I don't think of my life in my 20s when I was doing that stuff as depressing. It was just my adolescence.
You didn't think
it was
the
me.
person dying at the end of an ode, like she kills herself. That's pretty depressing.
Sure, certain parts of the movie, certain scenes, certain things, but isn't that real life? I've known a handful of people that went out that way, and I've had tons that went out with ODs and stuff. I mean, you can't. That's just life. Life is very dark. Life is also very not dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. Maybe just my personal experiences are gonna enable me to.
Over. I mean, shit, man.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely gonna have the different perspective on this, even more so than like anything else we watch. So
right.
Yeah.
This is like the Rockstar movie to me, where it's like cool as hell for the first 30 minutes, the middle, and then everybody dies at the end. That's like the flow of your typical like Doors movie, Sid and Nancy. We're like super into it, everybody dies.
I mean, you're not wrong, but
yeah,
I felt so at home watching this because it definitely felt like my life, and I made it out. So I don't look at it as depressing. I mean, it's definitely a story of like, hey, maybe don't follow these guys, their path they're on, but I don't know. I don't look at it as depressing. But I mean, I like this kind of stuff. I like The Outsiders. I like, what I'm saying? Like that movie. Well, I don't want to spoil stuff. There's some movies that we could talk about, like other movies that are, they're look at James Dean type stuff. I don't know. There's a romantic side to it. So yeah, it's depressing, I guess, from a certain degree, certain perspective. I just don't feel that way when I watch it. I didn't feel irked by anybody. I didn't feel the only person that I felt irked by was that little pussy that wouldn't go get the brand. I wanted to punch him in his fucking face. But
I did like Flea quite a bit. It took me a minute. I was like, wait, that's Flea.
Yeah,
and
they even said Flea. Yeah, they even say it in the movie.
I think they say that accidentally, and
it was absolutely an accident. Yes,
he was like, "My name's not Flea, my name's Razzle," and I was like, "Oh snap! Somebody screwed up the script there." That was funny.
I love that that's still in the movie, though.
I think just where they end it, like, kind of would lead to like how Clay's saying it's depressing. Like, I kind of wish they would have had just a little bit more in the end. Like, I don't know if it was that necessary, but at least for me, like, did they get kicked out? Did they, did they learn their lesson? Like, there was no like.
I can answer those questions. Yes, they got kicked out. No, they didn't learn their lesson.
Yeah, I mean, it did. Like, I think that's I overall liked the movie. Like, I don't want to just come in and talk about how bad the acting was and all that other stuff.
Well, acting was terrible. It wasn't. Yeah, it's not one of those movies.
Yeah, and I wasn't expecting, anything, better than that. So it's whatever. Forgot where I was going with that.
Two
But yeah,
kids.
like I would say, like at least with SLC Punk, just to compare it to something we just watched, you know,
Right.
it at least I think it
Punk.
had an overall message. It had some character arcs where they learned their lesson, or there was an overall message in it. That this one was just things happen, movie over, but
Yeah.
that's
Well,
life. So
like
I can't really knock it for like ending where it did, because that's life. But just for my overall movie enjoyment, I would have liked a little, I don't know, 2 more minutes of something there at the end.
Of what happened.
Yeah, just
yeah,
so
the ending. The
just so
ending is perfect for me.
yeah,
but
just so it didn't
to
end
nobody's surprise,
on.
I'm sure.
Basically, really, just so it didn't end on such a
Bummer.
downer. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, y'all know I like downer endings.
Sure. I like the ending too. I think it portrays what it's trying to say. I thought about, I don't know if any of you guys have actually seen this movie, but I thought about Easy Rider quite a bit watching this movie.
I haven't seen that one.
Just because it's about a counterculture. That was late 60s, so it was the hippie counterculture.
Right.
But it was made by hippies like Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda, these guys. And so it's a similar situation where they just kind of went out with some cameras, these guys that didn't really know what they were really doing. And they're just portraying this counterculture and how they're treated. The whole movie, they're, getting cursed at and shot at by people. And it's a very similar situation here, just people are not down with the counterculture of the way these guys want to live. And it ends very similarly. They're in Easy Rider, they're riding motorcycles across the country, and it just ends with them just getting shot by some hillbillies, I think, on the freeway, and they all just die at the end.
That's freaking crazy.
And this, like, when the end happened here, I was just like, oh yeah, this totally the Easy Rider ending is just like, well, and there's no winning. It's just it just leaves you on that downer note for sure. But similarly, it's just showing you that life, that way of life. And I like that about it.
Yeah. I mean, life always doesn't have a, nice ending or anything like that. So I didn't necessarily need a happy ending, but
yeah.
I mean, and again, that's maybe a good thing that it left me wanting a little something extra.
Yeah. I mean, this is early in the movement too, right? This is 83. So punk is
wasn't even a decade old yet.
Punk is
especially in the U.S.
End of the 70s,
Well, I mean, it started in the U.S. before it started in the U.K.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah, but it's around the same time.
It's very similar time frames, but it started
70s?
like Ramones were like 75, Sex Pistols were 77.
Yeah. So I mean, it was known, but people had never really seen it through their eyes before. So
right.
I think it's pretty unique for its time in that way, right?
Well, I think that part of what the movie was telling you people was like, hey man, we're these kids, we're just trying to like be ourselves, and people fucking hate us for it. Mm-hmm. And it's like, so we're gonna behave even worse because fuck it, they're gonna hate us anyways. At least that's how we felt whenever I was young. Yeah. It was like, damn, I can't even do shit, man. I get up in the morning and people are like, fuck you. And so, well then fuck you too. And so it's just like, and like, look at the way that those redneck dudes behaved. Like, and like the only person that was a good person was the fucking cop. It made me so angry because it's so not realistic.
I was going to mention that. I actually liked the cop. Like, he was working in their best interests. He never was trying to change them.
Yeah.
He treated them like adults. He like approached them as equals. Like, and he really tried to help them out without being the law, I thought that was pretty awesome.
It was pretty awesome, but it was wholly unrealistic, which is the only part about it.
Well,
everything else in
he
the movie was pretty accurate as far as my experiences, except that. And I was like, damn, man, if they could have made him a little bit more of a prick, it would have been out, because I did like him, and it kind of bothered me that I liked him.
Well, he's also the kid's.
fact that he's the kid's father.
That's what I was going to
Right.
say. He was the kid's stepdad, so at least it's slightly different angle than just like a random cop. or something.
Right,
'Cause, yeah,
right.
'cause
That's true. That's a good point.
Like you said, a random cop is just gonna like act just the
And
way
so-
all the
Oh,
rednecks
dude.
and everybody else is acting. towards
Yeah.
him.
He's treated like shit continually too, because he's, even by the punks, they were kind of like, this guy, he's your dad. So, they just treated him like shit on appearance too. So
I will say I had no misconceptions that this was some kind of happy ending movie that y'all were going to be like, man, this is my favorite movie. But it really does illustrate what a lot of people in my world just kind of dealt with. Now, it was about a decade before, maybe even a little bit more than that, like a decade and a half before I was even doing that. But the similarities in the actual events that happened are so crazy, man. Like, I remember having girls that showed up to our houses and wanted to stay with us because their stepfather or their father were creepy pieces of crap that I'm not going to elaborate on, but use your imagination. It got dark. I mean, there was a guy's dad that we basically had to hold him down in a bed with a sheet and take a couple of golf clubs to him. And that's real. That really happened. And it's like, this movie is so gnarly, but I don't know, maybe the fact that I have a pretty cool life and I got amazing wife and children and good friends. And I'm looking at it from well, it's the first chapter. Well, it's the first chapter, I mean, most people, I've got a lot of buddies that are just getting out of jail, and I got a lot that are in the ground, and so it ain't a happy ending for everybody. That's for damn sure. But I don't look at it as such maybe a somber thing. I don't know. It just looks like.
I remember there was the house STD that everybody had.
Oh,
and they were like, I remember one of my girlfriends dropped me off at the the TR, whatever it's called, and she was like, "Man, you're hanging out with the dirt people today." And I was like, yeah, I hang out with the dirt people every day. And then there was the itch. They all I guess they were all sleeping with each other and sharing the same, ass or whatever. And so they all had the same. I never got that, thank God, but I was a little younger than they were. But yeah, that was a real
good times, right?
I never got that, but we definitely all got lice once.
One of the baddest. Sucked. The baddest guy is the guitarist of this band that we all followed. He was this big bad, I think he whooped 6 people's asses all single-handedly in a parking lot one day. He knocked my shit all over the hood of a car one day because I was talking some smack to him. He wound up dead in a swamp. There was a swamp next door to the house, and they found him dead in that. So people did die, and it still is sad, and I can relate very much to this movie too. But like I said, as I've gotten older, looking back now, I'm the irresponsibility of some of my decisions, and those weren't wasted years so much in terms of my life experiences. I've grown as a person from that, but at the same time, I'm some of the decisions I made would have taken me down maybe a better path in life. And so I think maybe I should have listened to my dad. Maybe I should have gone to this high school and not the one I wanted to. I could have gotten a scholarship, blah, blah, blah. And life wouldn't have been extremely difficult for me for say a decade. And I'm sure you can relate to that too. But sometimes
I still look at it like that.
Yeah, but I mean, some of these kids, they didn't have the same choices that I had, right? Those choices were taken from them.
Exactly.
I was going to say, maybe I didn't have those either, because I don't look at it like that, because I didn't have the, college, dude, it didn't matter if I was going to, I couldn't have gone. It just wasn't in the cards for me. I remember when I was at 9th or 10th grade, my mom sitting me down and she's like, "Hey, you're getting in a lot of trouble." She's like, "You're not doing really good in school. Or do you want to go to college?" And I was like, "Man, I don't think I'm going to finish high school." And she had simultaneous panic and relief. And I remember she was like, "I need you to finish high school, but I don't know that I can do college." And I was like, don't know. We can't do college. Like college, unless we get a full scholarship. I wasn't that guy. I wasn't built for that.
I had
And
friends
so,
that were like
you know,
career drug dealers, and they had cars and houses, and I was like, this seems like the way, right? So I was like, I had 3 jobs. I was a dishwasher and a line cook and a bar back, and I was making enough money to take my girlfriend out and get laid. And I had weed and, you know, whatever. And so I was like, why the hell would I go to college? Like, I'm good.
it seems that seems good to me.
Living the life, right?
Yeah.
Dude, some people are just built for more simple shit, man. Some people don't want it. Some people do.
Yeah.
You know, I have a lot of friends that like, they wouldn't want to go to college for any reason. They would rather just like, and like, I am very happy with the way that my life turned out, but I probably am pretty fortunate. You know what I'm saying? I'm lucky that I saw some things happen and bounced when I did. And then I'm lucky I met Carissa. I'm lucky we have a child at the age we had a child. I'm lucky because, I mean, if you think about it, I was deep into an addiction problem when we got pregnant. And so had I not had that happen in my life,
Yeah.
I mean, I 1,000,000% wouldn't be sitting here right now. That's for sure. I don't know if I'd be in dead or in jail, but one or the other.
That's why I said you could have had the happy ending. I mean,
Yeah. You got
It-
you got
it-
a happy
it worked out. Like, not to say you couldn't have done other things, but I mean, that was kind of the way you kind of had to go to get you out of what you were.
Yeah.
I will
Time,
say,
right?
I'm really happy that you don't look like Billy Joe Armstrong. Because everybody in this movie looked like Billy Joe to me.
Dude, that one
What?
kid. That one
chick
kid.
got their haircut just like his ass. Oh, man.
Well, the one kid that was into the chick with the cuts on her back, Sheila.
Sheila.
The dude, the kid that liked hair looked exactly like Billy Joe.
Yeah, he did. I kept thinking that too.
That's crazy. I don't think he looks anything like him.
Oh,
That's
dude,
wild.
he looks exactly like him. The haircut's
No,
a little
I
longer
disagree
and shaggier. I mean, he
He
looks
did
so
look
much.
like somebody. I just can't put my finger on it, but it wasn't Billy Joe. It was somebody else. He did look like somebody to me though. It's another punk rock guy, but God damn it, his nose does look a little bit like Billy Joe's.
Yeah, I mean, if Billy Joe was born in the he's born in the night. Well, if Billy Joe was a teenager in the 80s and not the 90s, like it would be
Shit, he was, bro. He was at the Op Ivy shows as 19, 20-year-old.
Yeah, but it's not.
He's old as fuck.
I say he's a little older than what the kids in the movie would have been. I'm just saying if he was,
Oh, you think you were saying he's older? Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I had that backwards. I thought you were saying if he was a little younger.
I looked up Flea's age. He's 62 now.
Oof.
Oh yeah, all of it. He's all of it, bro. All of 62.
All those Red Hot Chili Peppers look like they look like the Rolling Stones now. They're like ancient.
Yeah,
That is not a compliment either.
I was gonna say they're starting to look like Iggy Pop.
Oh yeah,
Totally. Yeah.
Bro,
like
Iggy
leather.
Pop dude. No, they look like a bunch of fruit roll-ups, bro. Man, I love this movie, dude. I'm so happy to have watched it. It is dark though, man. I think I love it because I'm like, it represents me, and I can go here. You want to know what I grew up like? Watch this. It's pretty close. It's not the same, but it's close.
Yeah, I was watching it like, oh, I guess this is like Randy's documentary.
Right.
It just like I mean, I saw you in the I guess the main kid. I'll call him that. So just I kept thinking it pretty much the whole movie, and I was kind of on Clay's side for like a big part of it. I was like, man, all these kids are just fucking up and like being stupid and being assholes and just fucking with people and like. But then,
what else were you doing at that age?
I know, but I'm just like it changed for me when you started to really see their like. No, these kids have nothing. They've been given nothing.
Thank you.
They have no support. They have terrible
direction.
It's not even just they have nothing.
Yeah, they definitely don't have any direction.
I mean,
when they go to Sheila's funeral, you see like what friendship means to them is like that's their everything. Their people are their everything because they went and they asked like, we gotta go. Can we go to this, please? They weren't being shitty. They were only shitty whenever that kid finally got fed up with that old man acting like he wasn't responsible for any of this crap. The mother wants you to leave. The mother. Are you kidding me? You creepy piece of shit, bro. That guy, yeah, man. I would have absolutely been a part of that. Let's fuck this dude up. Like, man, Yeah, it's crazy, bro. Like that movie was so like I remember sleeping like I remember very vividly sleeping on the floor with like a foot on my head, somebody's back against my back, another dude's head down by my feet. I'm like, sorry, bro. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And then like people over here fucking in the corner, other dude over here doing dope. Like it's like 4 a.m. and you know, getting up and sitting on a sofa and playing that GoldenEye on a bunch of acid, bro. Like just fucking yeah, man. Like
I remember that game. that game was a staple. Everybody
yes,
loved
bro.
that sniper mode. Damn.
Yeah, but like
It's been a while.
you know, we didn't have nothing either, man. There was like 15 of us in a house. We'd save up like $10 because back then you could go to Taco Bell and you could buy these big boxes of tacos for like $10, and we would just walk, dude, like 4 miles to a Taco Bell and get food, and then just sit in the air condition for like an hour until they told us we had to leave. And then we'd get up and walk back to this house, and then we'd sit there and be like, you know, hey, has anybody got a cigarette? Dude, we were like 15, bro. What were we doing smoking cigarettes?
Yeah.
We were hoodlums, bro. It was so good, bro. And there was this big-ass cow pasture, like literally like 30, 40 yards from where we were staying. Like, I don't know if it's that close. 2-3 houses down. There was like a big pasture, and there was all these cows, and there was this couch that we had out in the pasture that we would go out and like fuck around on this couch, bro. I can't imagine what was on that thing. But you know, I learned how to like pick mushrooms, bro. Like, you know, cypress
I feel
activities.
like you grew up in the same place I did. We had Coleman Dairy. They had a big cow farm out there, and we would all go and pick up the mushrooms from the poop in the morning, you know, on the big Coleman Dairy farm. And then they changed the cow feed so that nobody could get the shrooms anymore.
I remember that. I remember when that dude, we used to take trash bags worth of mushrooms out of that place. And when they changed the feed, I remember like, I'm not gonna say his name. My buddy was like literally crying tears because he was like, "That's all the money I'm gonna make, man."
Oh, man.
Dude, he was making mushroom tea, man. Oh, fucker, bro. Yeah, dude. Man, let's hear it for the '90s, bro. Shit was fun.
I think
like
my only.
Go ahead.
So I was just. I think my only like real gripe, other than like the movie quality, I guess, is I wish they had a little bit more about the music, because I mean they go to the
It
punk
wasn't
rock
about
club.
the music.
Yeah, but I mean, but that is. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the kind of central thing that kind of? I mean, aside from
So maybe, but this movie was about the people, not the music. It was literally like the other end of it. It was like after the show's over and the crowd leaves, these are the kids that are the local punk rockers, man. So like, I like music, so I would love to have more of it in there. But there was the live shows, like, dude, freaking DOA was in here. Fuck, dude, I just lost it. It was there was 3 bands, wasn't it?
Yes, it was
DOA. It was TSOL.
Yeah,
and then fuck, who was the other one? But like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. This movie was on a small budget. It was short, so if they were to add 15-20 minutes, I would like to have it been about the music.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't necessarily need like more like literal music in the movie, but
no.
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, it's a bit. I mean, whether it's about the their upbringings and their their life situations, still the music is kind of half or another large chunk of what brings all these people together. And I thought it was just missing a little bit of that.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I just want to throw this in here real quick. My favorite part was when the kid is sitting out in front of the diner and the punks walk by and they go, "Get a job." And I was like, what? It's so funny to me.
Dude.
When they were going through the convenience store and they were making fun of the convenience store worker, like limping around the store like him because he had like a weird club foot or something.
They're all limping in unison.
Like that's like I just I see Randy doing that. That's like
no, I 1000% would have done that. Like we were all just little hoodlum shits that had no money. So like if we had money, we might have been inside playing video games as young kids, but because we didn't have the money for that, so we just went outside and I mean, I remember playing Hey Mister at the corner store, like, dude, I don't know, man, almost every day. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay,
Nope.
hey, mister is where you try to get somebody to buy you beer or cigarettes, and you're
Oh,
16.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
And, hey, mister, you buy me some cigarettes, I'll buy you some. And
Gotcha.
you, hey, mister, you buy me some beer if I buy you some. And so you'd have to go like steal a bunch of shit, get your older brother to go to the pawn shop to sell the stuff, take that money. He takes his cut, of course, because he's a dick. And then you got to go give this. By the time you get $30, it ends up being 10, and you can maybe get a, you know, back then probably back then probably a case of beer. It's bullshit beer, but you just get tanked at night and, you know,
Like 12
trying to
beers
pitch
for like
your
10,
pants.
12 beers for like 10 people.
Yeah, pretty much. Whoever drank one faster got the second beer.
Light
Like,
beers.
oh yeah, bro. Like Miller High Life and like or
Keystone
Stillers
Light
Reserve.
or something.
Keystone, dude, bro. Keystone Light. We lived
Natural
on that
Light.
shit, dude.
Natural.
Natural Light, but dude, Steel Reserve was the shit we used to try to get because it was higher alcohol content and it was just as cheap and disgusting.
Yeah.
We were
Oh,
always
it's
getting
Steel Reserve.
Mickey's.
Mickey's was pretty good, or not good,
It
but
was
good to get.
disgusting, Yeah.
Boone's Farm. I remember Boone's Farm being a nice key part of my life.
The first time I ever got really drunk, we went to a show. We pulled up in a van, and they were like, "Here's your Boone's Farm," and they gave me 2 of them, and they're like, "Drink it," and I was like drinking as fast as I could, and they were like, "Drink it," and I'm like, "I am, dude." And we killed 2 of those in like 10 minutes, and I stumbled into that place. Oh, it was so bad. I was wasted. I would think I was like 16 or 17. It was fun.
Exactly, it was fun. But
Well,
yeah, man,
I
being a
mean-
young shithead kid was a great time, man.
I think like that is fun, but I still feel like, you know, spray painting people's houses and, you know, like really destructive stuff. You know, maybe I'm too old now. I just don't see that as like, it pisses me off. Like if I'm on the receiving end of that, I'm like,
Well,
yeah, I'm gonna whoop your ass.
okay.
So,
Look, here's the deal. Here's the thing. I know you, so I love you. But what do you do for a living?
I'm in finance.
Yeah, you're the fucking man. So, like, if I didn't know you, the kind of people that you probably hang out with at lunch and shit, I would literally walk by and throw something at them. That's my point. Like, it's just not. It's a. It's more like it's a class thing to a certain degree. You know what I'm saying?
I respect that. I do. And I totally
when I was
see
young,
it.
I
But I feel
misbehaved a lot like that.
I'm turning. I totally see it, and I used to be that kid, and I literally broke shit and crashed shit, but now I feel like I'm getting to a point where I'm like the cranky old man. I'm just at the apex where I'm cresting the hill, and I'm like I'm gonna be this old freaking arthritis
I already
having,
am.
pissed off old man.
I feel like I've been that guy.
Get out of my yard! Like
Josh was that guy at age like 19, bro.
Yeah. Since I got married.
Yeah,
So
Josh
what do
is
you
like
think about what I'm saying, then, Josh?
No,
What do you think?
see, I never went through this phase. Like, I never went and got drunk when I was 16 with my friends and like spray painted houses. I never had any
Dude,
of that, so.
We used to break car windows out just to make the fucking noise, man.
Yes,
like,
see, that doesn't sound fun to me, so I don't relate to it.
it doesn't sound fun to me at 42, but at 16, when I'm fucking high, it sounds like a great time. The only thing is that I can recognize that it sounds fun as a 16-year-old. As a 42-year-old, I don't want to go to jail, and I don't have the money to pay for your fucking windows.
Right.
So like, I look at it different, but I remember why I did it, and I remember what the feeling was. Now I sometimes I want to go, bro, I wish I hadn't done that necessarily. Like I wish I had to. Okay, so back then I never registered to like, okay, like if I break this dude's window out, it's $150 for a window. Like it just didn't register, but like, you know, karma caught up with me. You know, I've paid for a lot of that, bro. I've had buddy. You think you think I wonder why all this shit happens to me, dude? I don't wonder at all. I know exactly why. It's the fucking universe paying me back.
I mean, I grew up in the suburbs too, and I mean, I guess I had a decent upbringing. I didn't have like bad parents or anything like that, but I mean, I definitely spent my phase that would just like I had a friend that loved the computer air duster cleaner. So he would huff the air duster cleaner, and we would walk around the neighborhood at like 2 a.m, and we weren't such shitheads that we were like hitting people's cars and like breaking people's windows, But the street light, for some reason, we found out the street lights in the neighborhood, if you kicked them enough, they would just go out. So we would just walk the neighborhood to each street light and just kick the shit out of them, and then the lights would go
Just
out.
busting the
And we,
filament.
and we move on to the next one. I don't know why.
Oh,
we
is that
did
what
it.
they were doing?
Yeah. Just that little tiny wire inside. If you just shake it around enough, it'll break. You know.
I look at all these kids, man. Like, I think what it is that I look at kids now, and I'm like, I feel you, man. Like, I was there. I feel you. Go out there and be a little motherfucker. Now, if I catch you being a motherfucker around me, I might have to smack you around. But it is what it is, man. It's cops and robbers, bro. Sometimes you're the cop, sometimes you're the robber. I tend to feel like I'm probably going to always be the robber. I'm never going to ever be the guy that, like, is just, you know, to that degree. Like, I don't want anybody in my yard, but, like, if they are, they are. Like, it is what it is, man. I don't know. But in the same token, I was just bitching about my neighbors. So, you know.
Yeah. I mean, to a certain extent, I think it's healthy. I'm not trying to say that it's even a bad thing to go, you know, be mischievous as a kid.
I do think every kid needs to get caught, though, and get in some trouble.
Sure, yeah.
Maybe have some consequences, because, like, boy, I tell you, man, I got caught a couple times doing some shit, and it, you know, it was
the teacher, right?
Bro, 18 years old in jail, not knowing how long you're going to be there is fucking terrifying. Like, that shit is scary, man.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And then having the cops tell you you're going to be there longer than you really are, so you don't really know who to believe. So you're just getting told, like, yeah, you'll be out in like 60 days. You're like, 60 days? Like, all I did was blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, all I did was steal a bunch of 40s. Like, I didn't even get out of there with them. They fucking have them back. Like, what are you talking about? You know, stuff like that. Or so I hear.
Crazy. What about this scene where they just rip that girl's clothes off in the
That's the only scene that it makes me mad. I've been to literally 1,000+ shows, and I've never seen anything remotely like that. I've seen people beat the shit out of guys that were bothering a girl, but punk wasn't inclusive in the 80s, though. I'll be honest, man. Like, I don't think stuff like that happened, but like, and look, I may be way off. Some girl might go, "Fuck you, I was there. It was me."
I'm sure some gnarly shit happened at a show.
Yeah, but you know, back in the early 80s, dude, there wasn't this whole kumbaya, fucking peace, love, and harmony shit going on like there is now.
Yeah, I did like that the guys on stage started yelling at him and say, "Leave her alone."
After a whole song.
They waited till the song was over, though. I was a little like, okay, you know, they just let that happen for a while.
Chris got me a copy of this movie, which I appreciate. It was actually commentaried continually by the director. And I noticed I couldn't handle it, so I had to switch gears. But initially, like the first 3 scenes I watched, everything that she had in this movie, up, you know, let's say the first 15 minutes, were all from like personal experiences that she used as reference points to create, you know, the ideas that went into the scenes. So maybe I'll go back and look, you know, but maybe there's some personal experience that she had with the woman.
Terrible.
Yeah.
Well. I didn't listen to the commentary, but I did go look up some interviews of Penelope Spheris because this is her first like narrative film. The Decline of Western Civilization is like a couple of years before this.
This is a documentary, though.
Yeah, but it was the first thing that was her first movie. She did that, and then she made like sort of a narrative out of stories she heard and like things she. You know, people she talked to and stuff. So she said that most of it is like from real stories she heard, like all the dogs and stuff. Like that was stuff that she was told about. Because I thought that was kind of weird, but I was like, but not that it's far fetched or anything. Just like it's an odd detail, and then to see these guys driving around shooting these dogs. That was pretty wild.
Dogs?
Dude, okay. I literally can tell you from experience that shit's happened. Like, I didn't have
I don't doubt it, but the person who does that is
wild-ass redneck types, dude. Bro, rednecks are our mortal enemies for a reason, man. They are shit people. Like, I just don't like them. They're assholes, man. Like, Yeah,
the guy
it makes me so mad thinking about
the
it.
guy with the trailer that had a bumper sticker on it that said, "When guns are outlawed, only outlaws will have guns," and a big bright red bumper sticker. Like,
dude, my fucking neighbor has that on his car.
It's something my dad would have on his car, to be honest. Like, right next to his Trump flag. Just like stuff like that. But it's totally like
that's funny.
Not out of possibility. But the whole dog shooting scene I thought was so crazy though, because it took me a minute to figure out how they were doing that. Just like logistically, like how they were shooting these dogs and they were just like doing backflips.
Yeah.
But
I was asking Carissa, you think they had them just tripping over shit, like tying their feet up and had them run, and they just boom? Yeah, which is terribly cruel.
If you look closely, you can actually see strings tied to their front legs. So they're like running full out, and then they're just getting laid out, just flipping over.
That was something in the commentary when the Doberman in the first scene is like baring his teeth. That she was like, we actually had rubber bands around his snout so that his lips would open, but he couldn't actually open his mouth.
Oh, wow.
And I was like,
oh wow,
crazy. So
you couldn't do that stuff these days.
No, this is the Wild Wild West.
This was it was a Corman movie, so it's very low budget.
Well, last thing I'll say about any personal experiences that can relate to some of this stuff, I had this redneck kid living next door to me. And he literally shot my dog, and he put like a pellet, and then like we had one of these guns where the more you pumped it, the more velocity it had. And one day I hear my dog yelping real bad, and I was like, "What in the world?" So I let him inside. And I look at him, and I don't see any blood or anything. And then like later that day, I'm petting him, and I was like probably 14 or 15 at this point, and I felt this pellet, and it was like inside it was in him. And I freaked out, and I knew exactly what had happened. And I went into my mom's room where she didn't know that I knew where she had a couple of guns. And I just so happened to pick up one that was also a pellet gun. And I went, and I didn't know. I just knocked on this kid's door. And when he opened the door, I pulled the trigger and shot him in his ear. Put a hole through his cartilage and like stuck in his head right here. And I started fucking smacking him with it. And then, And then, coincidentally, that kid in his front yard, like a couple years later, bro. Like I lived around stuff like this, man. Like this is super not far fetched to me. Like I watched that and I was just like, it's fucking terrible. But I wasn't like, oh, I've never heard of something like this before.
Right.
Yeah.
That was the whole ass chorus to the opening song was Richard.
Right. Yeah, dude. Yeah.
Richard.
Man.
Yes.
We got to use emojis.
Stupid YouTube.
Dude, for real.
But yeah, I mean, I never questioned any of the realisticness of the things. It gets a little silly with, I think, just the movie's budget and their execution of things. But I mean, the things that are happening and the things that they do, I mean, it all seemed super realistic.
Yeah. Well, like the nudity that I pointed out earlier, I think that was completely just a Roger Corman thing. Like he had like a thing where you had to have like 3 nude scenes, like one in each act. And
they did it later in the movie too.
Yeah,
the rednecks burst in and just rip the girl's dress off, or
it's yeah. and they're in the strip club at one point too. Yeah. Just the girl dancing behind them too. So it's like just fulfilling the requirements.
That scene, at least, I thought was just showing how hypocritical they were, because they were talking about their I forget exactly what words they used, but just talking about how moral they were while they're sitting in the strip club.
Totally.
I just think this is a big warning. Look at what we have to deal with. Look at this is what we're just regular kids, regular people. And this is what society thinks of us. And suburbia specifically, so the suburbs is like that. It's like a lot of like, the further you get out, it's the more like, I hate to say rednecks continuously, but that kind of person, they're more, they listen to that kind of music. They live that normal suburban lifestyle. They tend to be that kind of person, a little more, per square mile than in the city, And I think they were just saying like, look, the suburban areas aren't necessarily all just,
Right. It's not a utopia.
Thank you. That's a good word, utopia. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm just glad you guys watched it. I don't know if you liked it or didn't. I love it, but I don't know. It is a heavy movie to a certain degree. I look at it from a different angle, and so I see the silliness in it, and it's just more like a rite of passage movie. Like the ending the ending's fucked up, but the ending is so necessary in this movie.
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. I would say I enjoyed SLC Punk more, just as a comparison, since we talked about it recently. It's more of an enjoyable time. It's got a little more style to it, but no, I enjoyed this, and I appreciated what it was trying to do. Like, it is trying to show the audience, give you their perspective, like a different perspective,
right?
Necessary. So,
yeah, it's been on my watch list. It's been on my watch list for a while.
Yeah, it was already on my watch list as well. So I wasn't,
I thought it was
watch it.
good. I think it has some iconic scenes, like when the kid's riding the big wheel in front of the house. I was like, oh, this looks like, this is a great shot. And then, there's some really dark camera work. I'm all about the camera work. So there was some of that. I think it's gritty, and I like any movie that doesn't look quite so polished in terms of like everything is super planned out and purposeful. I felt like this movie was like, hey, these guys look this way, and they look cool enough, like they look dirty, and that's great. Like, we don't want clean punks here. So I thought it was good. I thought it was true to life. I enjoyed watching it, but at the end of the movie, I was just like, oh, like, damn, that was a bummer. And I totally respect the ending for what it's worth, but man, it was heavy. It was a heavy ass movie. I think, two kids died, a girl, outed herself. I mean, and then it's just like shit, man.
Yeah.
It was tough.
I watched Carissa physically go at the very end, and because I knew it was coming, and I was just like, I was kind of watching her about the movie.
I've never seen it before, and I saw it coming.
It was quality stuff. I liked it because it was just so raw. But man, I think it's going to be tough on a rewatch.
I don't even rewatch it often. I mean, I understand completely. that I totally get. It is not something you throw on every couple of months and go, I want to rewatch Suburbia.
I think when I asked you last week what you compared to SLC Punk, and you said SLC Punk all day, I will give you the SLC Punk over this. I think Matthew Lillard has the comedic relief in it. He's like got so much personality and charisma that I think he was great on.
You're looking at reality, you're looking at fiction. So yeah, I'll take the fictitious world all day.
That's definitely the more Hollywood version of this, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. Like that one is almost unrealistic.
Yeah,
you'll never see a movie like this again. I don't think. I think that the era is over. The generation is over. Good representation of punk is probably long gone. So this is it. I think. So,
the next movie that came after this that I say captures the same kind of everything or whatever you want to call it would probably be Kids.
That one's super heavy, right? Like this.
It's like it's not the exact same movie, but it's like the same. It's just it's the same kids in a different world at a different time.
Yeah.
30 minutes awesome. 30 minutes. 30 minutes bad. It's just the same shit. But yeah, I love Kids too, though.
I will almost certainly be picking Kids very soon. We need to watch that movie on the show. We need to. Who have y'all not seen it, Josh and Chris?
I haven't seen it.
No, that one's also been on my watch list for a while.
We need to watch that movie together. I would love to hear y'all's commentary on that.
Keep the bummer train rolling.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes life is a bummer. So
we went from Bad Lieutenant to this.
Well, what's the? Yeah, I was just thinking, like, what would make the double feature list for this one?
Oh, that's a good, good call. Actually, I didn't have anything planned.
Fucking Peter Pan and the Lost Boys. Fucking palate cleanser, man. Rufio.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking palate cleanser.
Well, I'll just say Easy Rider because I think
it's a good. I've never seen that, so I might want to watch that soon.
I don't really like it that much. It's more of an important movie than a movie that I really enjoy. But
I've never been referred that movie, so I'm not surprised you're saying that.
no, it's. I mean, it was a very important movie for its time. It kind of kicked off the whole '70s movement, where the inmates ran the asylum for a while. So it's important for that, but it's definitely not a very good movie. I mean, Dennis Hopper was an absolute madman. Had no idea what he was doing.
I love that guy.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. He's so much fun to watch on screen. Oh yeah, he was out of his mind for a long time. Should have died probably, but it's interesting as an artifact.
I'm gonna go with you were saying kids. I'm gonna go with Harmony Korine's demon love turd, Aggro Drift.
I've heard of that.
That would follow this movie.
You just watched that not too long ago.
Yes, the one with the freaking
okay.
thing. Yeah, with the dancing devils, and I don't know why. It was just complete absurdity. So palate cleanser, you would just shake your head and be like, "What the hell is this garbage?"
Drop some acid and drift away.
I mean, I'm not opposed to that.
You would need it. It'd probably make you freak out though, because it's got some like demon scenes and stuff.
Weird.
Chris, what are we watching this week, Duder?
Ooh, this one's been like I've kind of had this one in my pocket for a while, so I couldn't think of anything really to bring up. So I'm finally gonna do it. I actually on the Blu-ray. So it's Session 9.
Okay.
Like early 2000s.
I'm almost certain I've seen this.
Yeah, 2001.
I've heard of it.
They get stuck in like a mental hospital for some reason. I haven't seen it.
Oh yeah.
Like
I've watched this movie like 6 or 7 times.
I've seen it a couple times too. It's a good movie.
Okay.
I'm glad to watch it.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Yeah. This is it's what's the redheaded guy's name?
Freaking
David Caruso.
Caruso, yeah.
Caruso.
That guy. Yeah. Carradine, let's go. Kung Fu,
Speaking of
I mean, he was trying to have a little more fun.
Sorry, Carradine. I love you, man.
But
that's hilarious, bro.
I don't really see this one get brought up a lot. But I remember watching it and liking it back in the day. So
it's a good movie. Or I liked it. I like it. It's a good weirdo movie. It's weird, man. I like it. Enjoy it. I went through a phase where I was watching a bunch of like movies about people that were out in the middle of nowhere doing stuff. Where like what's it called? Like spooky shit. Like that's what spooky to me. This is spooky.
Yeah, it's kind of like got some haunted, weird, demonic possession stuff. I think to it from what I remember.
Okay, sounds good. I have it on my watch list. I don't
think it's necessarily a horror movie. I think it's more of a thriller than a straight up horror movie. But
cool.
Hell yeah.
I guess we'll talk about it next week.
Sounds good.
Cool. Awesome.
Anything else y'all want to bring up? Anything movies you watched? Do you want to throw out there or anything?
I've been watching all the new Planet of the Apes movies. They're pretty solid.
Watch. Oh man, I really needed to go to bed, so I put on Blue Beetle. It worked. So that was cool.
So you got 5 minutes in?
Yeah. Fucking
watched the Bike Riders a couple times.
Yeah.
It's a good movie.
Yeah. It's very similar to this vibe, but
I still need
definitely worth seeing.
I need to catch it. It looks really good.
Oh, this week is A Quiet Place, right?
Yeah, this weekend.
Yeah. I finished my server training on Friday, so they're having me work like I'm basically solo with somebody watching me. So that's the only reason I know about it. Iris texted me. It's just like, "Hey, you're gonna do A Quiet Place." I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." Like, was not expecting that. I'll take it though. That means next week I can be doing some. I get to watch part of it without having to actually sit down and watch it. I kind of like that.
Nice, man.
I mean, there should be a decent crowd for that, probably too. You know,
that's what she was saying. She's like, "Get ready to work." I was like, "Fuck, all right, I don't want to work."
That's going to be the movie of the weekend, I imagine.
Yeah, because other one is the new Yorgos movie with Emma Stone, and I imagine that one's not going to do the numbers that.
And Horizon American Saga. Don't forget about that.
Oh yeah,
come on, man.
Yeah, all the old people are going to come out for Costner.
Oh yeah.
And Josh.
I don't think it's gonna do that. Yeah, and me. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that movie's gonna do that well.
Yeah.
Actually, but you know,
Who
it's
knows?
out there.
Let's hope not. So let's stop making them. Fucking hey. Wait, which one are you talking about? The Costner movie?
Yeah, the Costner movie.
Okay, that's not what I was talking about. Sorry, I was talking about the other one with Emma Stone.
I was
But,
really offended when you said that.
Well, then that's what I meant then.
Yeah,
Okay.
On that
I'll
note,
look
let's end the podcast.
All right, fellas, I gotta go anyway.
Go no
man. See you
further.
later, man.
Later.